You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Hey, really appreciate you guys joining in and listening in. Guys, we have another special guest interview, and this one is with the legend, Nick Carlson with Mulch. Nick, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
What's happening, Mr. Brian? How are you?
I'm good, brother. I'm in my garage. I'm doing another episode. I'm so excited. I love doing interview style podcasts, and we have so much to talk about. Before we hit record, you and I were just catching up and spitballing, but you and I, man, we talk probably once a week via text and at least once a month on the phone, and we're buds. I got to really get to know you more at the GIE and the different live events. You guys came up to Michigan for our Entrepreneur Academy Live, and you and your crew are just ridiculous. You guys are awesome. You and Gator and Sam and your dad, it's so cool, man. So I'm really excited about having you on the line. We're actually going to do something a little different with your podcast, because you got this multifaceted thing going on. You have a really rich history and story that I don't think a lot of people really know. The Nick Carlson, I'm going to call it Nick Carlson 1.0. Okay. You run a lawn and landscape company for maybe about a decade or something like that. And so
almost two
decades, geez, oh Pete. And then you've had this transition the last half a decade into creating your new baby, which is Mulch. And so many questions out there, so many things to unpackage. So before we go diving down the rabbit hole and all that mess, and I get overly excited, why don't you give everybody maybe like a 60 seconds on your stats of who you are, where you're at, and maybe where you're living and what you've been up to the last few months.
Perfect. So full name's Nicholas Carlson. I go by Nick, of course. 34 years old. I'm from Annapolis, Maryland. It's the capital of Maryland. It's a beautiful area.
Nice.
Funny factoid, this is actually something no one really knows about my family. As a child, when we had those, disposable cameras, we'd go on trips to Disney World or Orlando or whatever, and I would take pictures of plants. Like, no joke, nonstop taking pictures of plants. To this day, my family still teases me. And so apparently I had the landscape bug from the get-go.
Huh.
And so I literally have a basement, or this little cabinet full of pictures of plants. It's just one of those funny things you'd never believe, but I guess I was destined to be in the industry.
Huh.
So at 14 years old, I worked at an ice cream shop and just didn't like the ice cream shop, didn't like working for anybody. And went to my father and said, "Hey man, what do you think about me cutting some grass, the lawnmower that we got here?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure. Here's $7 worth of fuel, but that's all I'm giving you." And he basically kicked me in the butt and said, "Good luck." And
yeah,
I started pushing this mower up and down the street. Now, I don't live in a community. I live in a very, very wide open farm-ish area. So trying to get clients is really hard. And I put up flyers that said, "Hi, neighbor," making them think it was a note from the neighbor. In reality, it was me, trying to advertise, trying to get business.
Right.
So started the business at 15 years old. It was called Laser Cut. In the beginning, it was Laser Cut Lawn Care. And as I got older, I went to Property Services, Laser Cut Property Services.
Okay.
Just because I wanted to sound more professional, because we were taking on more and more tasks.
Mm-hmm.
So started at 15 with $7 worth of fuel. When I sold it, when I was 31 years old, sold it for multi-millions of dollars, and started the Mulchmate gig, and here we are. So
wow,
that's kind of a real quick little inside look at where I came from. We can kind of dig into details later.
We definitely will, man, because I appreciate you sharing and opening up, because like I said, man, you're all over social media now, and I know you've been around the business for, like you said, more than 2 decades, which is just incredible. And I don't pretend to have it all figured out. I love listening to guys like you that, every time you and I get together, we talk about Mulchmate, we talk about trends and social media, but I just love hearing your business mindset. You got so many good things to share, and you're always like, hey, one day when we get an hour together, let's do a video and talk about some stuff, because man, I've learned some lessons. And I'm like, hey dude, rain check, because we were definitely going to do that, and here we are. So so Let's do this, man. I'm going to give you the mic here in just a second. Let's hear from the announcements, and then we'll start breaking things down and get on into it.
At Exmark, we've poured decades of leading-edge engineering and old-fashioned work ethic into our Laser Z, the pioneering commercial zero-turn rider more landscape pros trust. So now you can experience cut quality, performance, comfort, durability, and reliability beyond your wildest dreams. Stop by your local dealer or visit xmark.com to experience an Exmark Laser Z and the attractive financing offers available now.
By the way, thanks for leaving all the 5-star review lately. We really appreciate the feedback, all the comments. You guys are great, and appreciate the support on the podcast. So, all right, so let's open it up, man. So you were 14 years old, and you're starting to cut grass, and then where was the evolution from there? Did you go get like a little big boy job, cutting, or working for somebody else from like 16 to 18, or with college, or did you just go right on into running your lawn and landscape business? I'd love to hear your story, man.
So it all started with just, I'm the kind of guy that I don't mind working hard. It's honestly a kind of a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And at a young age, I just decided I'm going to cut some grass and see where it goes. And quite honestly, there's a second kind of part to my life is stock car racing and NASCAR. And I really started the landscape company strictly just to, fund the race cars. Just a hobby. It's like anybody else trying to fund a boat or an RV. It was just my hobby. And started the landscape company real young, just cutting grass. First mower was an MTD, like 36-inch. It was just a piece of junk.
Mm-hmm.
And it rode all cattywampus. It was awful. But it got me to the next level. Bought a used Scott ride-on tractor, 48-inch. I was like King Tut, running around the neighborhood.
Strutting it out there,
no trucks. Yeah, no trucks, no trailers. I just thought I was King Tut with this big orange mower. And so I guess I hit, it was like 15 or 16 years old, and I was restoring this old 64.5 Mustang at the same time while I was racing, growing my business, going to school, and restoring this Mustang.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed like $900 to restore this car, just with some of the sheet metal I needed. And I went to my father. I'm like, how in the heck am I ever going to make enough money to do this? He goes, just keep grinding, keep going. You'll get there. Well, by the time came for me to buy the sheet metal, I had over $3,000, as a 15-year-old kid.
Wow.
And so I thought I was just like,
You're rich.
My God.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, I was rich. And so I literally started doing the grass, and then I was cutting grass one day, and this lady came up to me. It's like, can you mulch my property? And of course, being the kind of guy I am, I'm like, yeah, sure, I've mulched before. Yeah, okay. I've never mulched before, ever. and so I'm like going to family members, like, can I borrow your shovel? Can I borrow your wheelbarrow?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm calling people from landlines because I had no cell phone, and like, hey, can you deliver this mulch? And da-da-da-da. And I literally recruited a friend of mine. His name is Nick as well. And I was like, hey, dude, you come help me with this mulching job. I'll pay you in food. And so we got them. It was 6 yards of black mulch. It took us all day. I was dead.
Might as well be 600 yards, at that age.
It sure felt that way.
Yeah.
So I paid him in a 1 pound Fuddruckers hamburger.
Oh my God.
That's how I paid him, and he wolfed it down.
Oh my.
I mean, this guy was like 6'6". He was a giant. But that's how the landscaping of the mowing side started. So the company started as mowing, and then it was the mulching and maintenance. And one day I had this 7-Eleven that we were working at, just cutting grass, and this guy, his name was Tom, just walks up to me. He's like, "Hey, you do a great job here. You want to look at my property?" Well, sure, no problem. So I'm about 17 years old, and I drive over to his property. Well, he lives in a townhome community. I'm going, And so he proceeds to tell me how he wants me to take over this property that's like 2 square miles. I mean, it's gigantic. And I'm 17. I'm going, how am I going to bid this? How am I going to do this and that? And so back then, there was no Googling. There was no YouTubing. There was none of that.
Right.
And I'm feeling kind of old here, Brian.
No, I feel you, bro. I feel you. I talk about this on my podcast, man, all the time. We had nothing like that. It was throw them out up against the wall and see what sticks territory.
Yeah. And so basically, I went to this guy, Tom, and said, "Hey, man, can you give me the numbers that you're paying right now?" And he's like, "Sure. Here's the entire contract." This man gives me the contract that they're paying. I basically copy paste, change a few things, give him a tiny bit better price, and that was my first HOA.
Wow.
And the day I sold my company, 16 years later, I still had that contract. So
awesome.
when I sold my company, I still had my first residential contract, and I still had my first HOA property.
Wow, that's a miracle.
It was a miracle, and it was sheer luck to even get them. I mean, just absolutely crazy.
That's awesome, dude.
So that's how I'd say the maintenance side of our company started, and then it bled into irrigation, low voltage lighting, lawn treatments. I mean, we did everything.
Really? Okay.
And
this is all in Annapolis area, or like the surrounding town or city, or?
Yeah, so there's 2 counties that we stayed in. So Annapolis is located in a county called Anne Arundel County, here in Maryland, and there's also another county called Howard County. A lot of money in these counties, a lot of government jobs,
right?
And so there's typically a lot of cash flow in these areas, and so being able to follow the money was a trick that I had to learn. And the thing was that at 21 years old, kind of fast forward a couple of years, the economy crashed when I was 21. And what do you do when the economy crashes? You get rid of your landscaper, you get rid of your house cleaner.
Sure.
And so right in the middle of me, like, getting ready to go hardcore in this company, we go through one of the worst economies and worst depressions this country's ever seen since the 20s. And so I had to basically stop, start all over, reevaluate what I was doing, and then I had to basically, everybody that lost their job decided to cut grass.
Yeah.
I'm fighting, everybody's getting rid of the grass cutters, and I'm fighting everybody that lost their job is trying to be a grass cutter. And so I see people yearly coming and going, and everyone started to notice, well, laser cut has been here the entire time. And so I was studying branding, I was studying logos, I was studying just the tiniest little intricacies that I could figure out on how to gain an edge. Did a lot of testing with like bandit signs on the highway. Everybody wants door hangers, doesn't work, never worked for me at least. For a tip for anybody listening, the number one thing that gained me the most ground was having a great logo and putting out the bandit signs, like the 18 by 24 signs you see all over the intersections everywhere. That flat out was the entire company. That revolutionized my business.
What year was this? Was this like 2001, 04, 05, or 07, or what kind of dip, or where were you at? What time frame?
So I did it twice. I did it. So what happened was I started when I was like 19, so that would have put it like around 2002.
Okay.
I think it's 2005.
Okay.
Ish.
Little dip there. Yep.
And so I started putting these signs out, and they're working. And so I'm like, yeah, and I'm getting all this work. And then I slow down the advertising, start doing the work. And this is the entrepreneur's worst nightmare. It's like you fight for all this work, you get it, and then you're like, oh crap, I gotta like get all this done, and then you forget about the sales side, and then that suffers. And so it's this back and forth frustration that we all face.
Sure.
And so what had happened was I did this for a couple of years, just got really tired and stopped advertising. And then I'm literally in Myrtle Beach on a small golfing vacation, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm throwing everything I got at this. This is like 2010-ish, 2009, 2010. And I revamped my entire business. I changed my logo. I changed my name. I changed all my systems. We implemented something called Service Autopilot.
Yep.
We started buying new trucks because the way I saw it was, if I couldn't afford a $450 a month payment, then I was doing something wrong. And so the money I would spend on that, I would save by not having to maintenance these old trucks. And so I read a book called E-Myth, and it completely just revolutionized what I was doing.
Sure.
And so within 3 years of 2009, people were looking at me going, holy crap, how'd you do that? I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, you exploded overnight. I'm like, well, it wasn't really overnight.
Right.
And so implementing these systems, going through E-Myth, listening to it 3 times, and really taking this deal serious, it really revolutionized what I was doing, and started looking at the business in a way of, I need to be able to sell this at any time, at any moment.
Okay.
And when you look at your business that way, you tend to do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is, you'll spend money in certain places and you won't spend in others. And you always have this feeling of, okay, this system can't be just in my head. It's got to be on paper, or it's got to be in the computer. And so what I developed was this really big book, 4 inches thick,
Mm-hmm.
of how to run my company. And so every day I would write a page, implement a system, and basically I knew one day I would hand this book to somebody and I would basically get a very large chunk of money for this book.
Yeah. Like a system or a manual.
It was basically a manual on just how to run the thing. And so you take all that in consideration with, I had yes in the trucks, I had, dash cams and all this equipment. And I'm an equipment guy just like the rest of us, and I love all pieces of equipment, but that's not what makes the business.
Right.
What makes the business is looking at it is that you're a data collection service, not a grass cutter. You're not a landscaper.
Mm-hmm.
People, when they buy a business, are buying data. Period. The contracts are great, but the contracts come and go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what we were trying to build, and that's what we were trying to do, just create a sellable product, and that basically just contains data.
Right. Well, it's funny because I always tell people, like, you got to begin with the end in mind. And, that's something that I've really started to think about too with my business is, do I ever want to get out of it? Do I ever want to sell it? Am I making an asset here to hand off the baton to the next guy? Do we ever want to move? These are all like real conversations that Liz and I have, all the time right now. And not to do YouTube full time or go into a different industry, but it's just, do we want to, sell this business and move to, Arizona or Texas or Florida, or for us, we want to retire up North Michigan. Right. And so I'm like, well, I don't know if our business is really that saleable, as an asset. We need to, like you said, get some systems in place. And I think we have the branding down, the marketing down, we know how to sell, but I don't know if it's such a, we're trying to get our financials in order, and all of our book work in the back end order and organized. So, like you said, we have an actual presentable asset, and that's just one, to make my life easier in the meantime, but two, if we ever want to go down that route,
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. And you got to keep in mind, your life is going to change every 7 years ish,
right? And
you have to be prepared to pivot. And the thing is, the company. This is what I say with Mulch all the time. The machine, meaning there's Brian's Lawn Maintenance, the business itself, has to stand on its own 2 feet without Brian.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
100%. Well, I love listening to, like Kiyosaki, right? And he talks about, like, are you self-employed and you have a job, or do you have a B business? Like, if you left it and you came back, would it keep growing? Now, I'm not trying to grow a $10 million landscape company, but and still though, the business I try to treat it like a business and not just being self-employed. You know what I mean? Or having a job.
Yeah, there's a difference between having a job and performing a task that at the end of the day is going to grow into something massive. Anybody can get a job. That's not the hard part. The hard part is nurturing this basically infant, into a self-sustained child that can manage on its own, and that's a business. That's what you have to do with a business. And the one major thing that I constantly see, and I completely fall into this category, and I have to kind of smack myself in the face and remind myself all the time is, Rome wasn't built overnight. Children just don't grow up overnight. These things take time.
Yeah.
And everyone forgets that.
For sure. That's huge. That's a huge life lesson, like people always see other guys on YouTube, or, your peers, buying the 15 grand mower and the $50,000 truck. And it's like, I remember from the beginning, baby steps, and I was excited probably more so back in the day, going from a handheld blower, you know what I'm saying, Nick, to a backpack blower. Like, that was so huge. It's not even funny. And And somebody listening to this right now is probably smirking and laughing and, nodding along, saying like, yeah, dude, like I remember my first backpack blower. Mine was a Redback EBZ 5000. And I thought today it's like me buying a Ford Raptor. Okay. Like that's the only thing that's going to like really get me off nowadays, And so, and now when I buy, another backpack blower or, I'm looking at like a Billy Goat push blower thing, I'm like, I don't even care, it's 2Gs, and I say that tongue in cheek, like we're super humble, we're super blessed. Okay. Like I say that humbly. Right. But like, I remember those startup phases, right. And all that stuff and that come up. And I really enjoy those parts of our story, let alone hearing you and your story. You know what I mean? And so.
I started with a broom, dude. A broom.
Old school.
You think I'm kidding?
No,
I feel you, bro. I literally had a broom.
I know.
I had a broom, and then I went to a handheld home light blower you get at like Home Depot.
Yeah.
And then I went to Home Light backpack blower. Woohoo! That's a big jump.
I feel you. And you know what? You probably you probably treated that broom like it was your crown jewel too. I bet you probably had that broom for 10 years.
Wore that broom out. Let me tell you, it was down to nubs.
Right. Dude, that's too funny, bro. So, okay, so let me ask you this. So things, as we're going through this timeline, and I really appreciate you opening up and telling the story, the laser cut property services story, because I didn't know, I've never hear this part. Like I said, I kind of met you more Nick Carlson 2.0, right? Part of Mulch Mate and all that. So what happened with becoming more of a, you having all this explosive growth, the economy, starts picking up a little steam back in, 11, 12, 13, things start growing and you start doing a lot of landscaping. And so, obviously Mulch Installations, the name of the game. So how did you start finding all these different accounts and contracts, or did you just have the Midas touch, or how did you tangibly get more business that you just had so much landscaping going on? Cause I know a lot of folks like hearing about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, perfect. So just to really start this off, I have absolutely no connection. I started off with no family, no aunt that was a property manager or sister or whatever. I'm an only child with a very small family, not a lot of friends, grew up, a little Christian school, graduated with 6 kids.
Sure.
No connections whatsoever.
Right. Okay.
And I know a lot of people have a lot of connections.
Yeah.
And I just don't have that. So
I grew up with none of that either.
How I did it. Perfect. Yeah. So you understand. So here's what I did. I went out and I decided, you know what? I need to be. You kill people with kindness, and you always treat them with the utmost respect, no matter how they ever react to you. Mm-hmm. And so what ended up happening was contractors tend to get beat up, and they get very hard, and they get very almost unapproachable.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what? Darn it, I'm not taking that approach. I'm going to go about this the way I want to go about this. And so I set up basically rules for myself, and I said, I'm going to take care of these people. I'm going to show them there is a better way and it can be done. And so what I did was I went and joined networking groups. There's one locally called BNI. I know that they're global.
Yeah.
Had a ton of connections through them. And I literally would go directly to property management companies, walk in with not just like donuts. I'd walk in with a darn cake or cupcakes, like beyond Dunkin' Donuts. Like, come on, Dunkin' Donuts has been worn out. That's just that's old news.
Right.
Do something different. Move the needle. And so I would show up and basically say, I want to talk to a property manager. And they go, well, they're not here. And I'd go, no, they're here. I'm going to stand here and wait, and then basically force them to come talk to me for a second.
So you weren't taking no. You weren't taking no.
I wasn't taking no, and I wasn't being disrespectful. It was just like,
no, dude.
Can I please just have 5 minutes? 5 minutes, and I promise you, I won't waste anybody's time. And what would happen is, it would take a year to cultivate that relationship, but I would invite them out to go get coffee. I wouldn't do anything disrespectful. I would just always be around. And something that I've learned jumping on social media is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where all these property managers live. And basically how I see social media is it's a library of data that people can always reflect back on to see who you truly are. And so what I would do is I'd go hit them up, stay in their office, talk to them. I would leave. When I would leave, I would instantly hit them up with an email saying, really appreciate your time. It was a great pleasure. Can't wait to do it again. And kind of just cultivate that. And I had this rule book of how to proceed. You touch them after you leave the meeting. You touch them 3 days later. When you get home the same day, you hit them on LinkedIn, tell them, you comment a couple of posts, you like a few things. You let them know that you're there. Like, hello, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And so you do that for a year or two, they're going to start opening up and giving you the opportunity to bid on these projects. And keep in mind, these contracts, here's a tip that took me forever to learn. All these contracts are available from August to, call it June. June's early, but some of them get released then. June to basically November. That is your contract season for the following season for HOAs, commercial properties, things like that. The number one thing to preach to these property managers and people that run these facilities is they don't want any more work on their plate than they already have. They're already busy. They've already got a million other things to deal with. If you can take a little pressure off of their plate, they will go to you for everything, and that's how you make your money.
Well,
major deal.
I always tell people, man, you want to get somebody's attention, make their life easier. and man, that's my social media. One of my tips on social media, man. Like if I'm talking to a company, I'm like, hey, I know you got a lot of things on your plate. Let me do this, and this for you. And then I cut a check, just having fun, and you just trying to make people's life easier. But dude, I wanna plant it here for like 10 seconds more because I wanna just pick your brain. I get a lot of questions about marketing, right? Everybody thinks like I'm a marketer, branding guy, and and I am, and I love talking about marketing, and but I always tell people like you don't have to spend a lot of money when you're doing marketing. It's and social media is clearly like living proof of that, right? But I can totally echo what you're saying with like being creative, being grinding it out. People always want like, well, what's the X's and O's to get more contracts, right? Like they think it's like a formula, and there are certain things you can do to like what am I trying to say? Like put yourself in a position to win. But I don't think a lot of folks really understand that like you gotta hustle, like you gotta get creative. Like one of the HOAs I have is like a $20,000 a year account, right? And it's a good anchoring account for me. But like I talked to the HOA lady who was the president for like 4 or 5 years. I got to know her. I got to know her kids. Like we were friends. We were buds. I threw in a bid. Nothing. We were still friends. We were still buds. No big deal. I saw her kids. We would throw a football, when I'm cutting grass, just hang out for 5 minutes, take a break, me and the guys. And, hey, do you want me to put in a bid? Yeah, sure. Nothing, right? And it didn't cost anything to be nice. It didn't cost to be anything to be kind and to be genuine, And lo and behold, the company that was, doing them, they got really big, they got fat, and they got lazy. And bottom line is I said, hey, like, they're getting fat and lazy. I'm lean and mean. I want it. I'm hungry, right? And so they took a crack at me, and we performed. I mean, dude, I was Mr. like white glove to these people because I wanted this account, right? And I think a lot of people always think that you got to spend money on marketing. Like you gotta spend 10 grand in postcards, 10 grand in lawn signs, that does help. But like, I don't think people in this day and age, Nick, really know that you're allowed to burn up the phone. You're allowed to network. You're allowed to shoot messages and walk into offices and knock on doors. And it sounds so old school. And somebody listening to this right now might be like, oh, that's the worst advice. That's so slow and there's no velocity. Well, so what? Sometimes you got to slow down to speed up. Sometimes you don't have money to throw at problems, right? And one of my biggest arguments is when you start making money, people start solving problems with money instead of solving problems with grit and ingenuity, right? And so you get fat and you get lazy. And I always tell people, no, dude, stay lean, stay mean, and stay creative. So what were some of those best tips or practice? I say all that, long-winded answer just to say that. What was some of your tips to get in there? I know you said one with the BNI and going to like a local factory with some donuts or something, right? And just saying, hey, like I'm trying to earn this thing. Like what worked best for you? Do you have any like other good juicy stories that you think would help folks in that position?
It's all about touches, right? The touches are, I've always said it takes 7 touches for someone to change their mind or change their position on where they're at.
Okay.
So you literally sit down with your fingers and count how many times has this person seen my logo.
Sure.
It all starts with your logo, and think of your logo like this. It has to be able to be on a billboard, and then it has to be shrunk down to something that's a half an inch big that can be stitched.
Okay.
Okay, so that's when we look at it. So when I say 7 times, I mean truck and trailer have some kind of lettering on it, not a magnet, something more than a magnet.
Mm-hmm.
Bandit signs all over the roads. As much social media, if you're not on social media, you got your head in the sand. It's free.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it doesn't feel like it's working, it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's there for people to go spy on you. If everybody likes to not, be known that they're messing with something. Do everything. Do as much social media as you can. Then you do you can learn how to do little SEO stuff online. Build a small little website. Doesn't cost a whole lot of money. I mean, a couple $100 and you're up and rocking and rolling.
Sure.
And then after that, little things that I would do, and I'm telling you, you think I'm crazy, work. I would literally on my business card, the same way I have Mulch, I have a black business card with my logo right in the center. You flip it over, and the information's on the back. The front was always clean. I would literally, every time I go pump gas, I would take business cards, maybe 8 to 12 of them, and I would tuck them in the little sign above where you pump gas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So while I'm sitting there waiting for gas, I'm just tucking little business cards in that little sign, and you would never believe how many people pulled that out and called me. Shocking.
That's pretty cool.
So you have all these different ways that people are seeing your logo, and eventually they're just going to give in. They're just going to, okay, fine, I'm done. I'm calling Brian with Brian's Almonds. I'm done.
Right.
I'm done.
I've seen
you
around town. Yeah.
Yeah. And when the people see you enough, they just automatically build this persona about you. Mm-hmm. And then once they meet you and they're like, oh, holy crap, this guy's really pretty cool.
Right.
And he's got his stuff together. And you're already done. The work has already been done, and you really didn't do a whole lot.
I like that.
Does that make sense?
No, dude, 100%. I call it the blitzkrieg, right? And I know what gets the phone to ring for me specifically. For us, where I live, and it is a little old school. It's postcards. It's like chum in the water. I'm telling you what, man. If I pass out 1,000 postcards, I'm getting 10 calls, 3 new customers, and for me, and that's perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for, right? But I always tell people everything reinforces everything else. Like you just said, you get, and they, eventually if you can buy the enclosed trailer with the signage, I mean, I understand we're talking 10 grand, so that takes time. You don't do that your first 2-3 years, right? But eventually this is, just maybe planting a seed in your mind if you're listening to this to, have that big, nice enclosed trailer. It's like or a nice truck that's like a rolling billboard, right? But you have the rolling billboard trailer going down the sign. You have the yard signs. You have the postcards. You have maybe the auto to voicemail system that you use with like a Send Jim, right? There's a lot of services like that where people get radius bombed in your area, which I think is still legal. And then you know what I'm saying. And then you have people go home and then they jump on Facebook and you have a radius bomb Facebook ad. You can run a $50 radius bomb on Facebook and target 10,000 people, and you can get really specific. You can, I want the females from 30 to 45, which usually control the finances in the house and the budgets, and they're on Facebook, right? And some 30 to 45 and the 60 to $200,000 salary mark, in this zip code, and you can get pretty specific with $50, and you go watch 2 hours worth of Facebook, YouTube videos, right, about how to do Facebook ads, and you become a pro, and I always say too, when you start putting money into things, you really start to learn, right? So, you can watch YouTube videos all day on Facebook ads, but until you throw $50 into the pot, like you're still you're still a spectator, not a participant, right? I call it. And so these are really good tips, man. I appreciate you sharing me with them, and that guerrilla marketing, dude. It doesn't always have to be fancy, even just generic paper flyers do wonders, So let me answer this. Okay, so we're going through that whole timeline, and this has been really, really fun. So what's where was your business at, Laser Cut Property Services, before you sold it? Like we'll probably transition in here in a minute and talk about Mulchmate, which is just super cool and super exciting. But where did you kind of leave off with it? I know you sold it. What kind of made you make that transition? Was it the Mulchmate thing before, or did you just have a really good offer that you couldn't refuse, or what was your point on that?
So in January 2016 was when Mulchmate hit me, and we were literally at dinner, and something happened to my brain. And I ended up seeing the whole world in a different way. I mean, even to this day, something happened. I don't know what it was. Man came by and slapped me. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But the landscape company was basically on autopilot. It was rocking and rolling. It needed some of my attention. It wasn't perfect by any means. I'm a stickler for details, and quite frankly, it drives me crazy sometimes because I just couldn't get it perfect the way I wanted. But it was making a lot of money, and I was pretty happy with it. But after, I guess, maybe April of 2017, I just kind of stopped and looked at the Mulchmate project. I looked at the landscape deal, and I said, what's going to make me happier? At the end of the day, what's going to tickle the little boy that's in me and is going to make me want to get out of bed every day? Because there were points in landscape where I didn't want to get out of bed. I was so run down and tired. It's not an easy business.
Right.
Especially when you're trying to grow a business in multi-millions of dollars. That's hard to do.
100%. 100%.
It takes years. And so I sat down with myself really and just went, Mulchmate's going to need all of my attention. Like, it's going to need every second that I have. And so I sat down with a business broker that I knew from the B&I group, and his name was Bob. And I said, Bob, help me with this. It's not my thing. It's not my forte. You're the professional. Please help me get this together. And so he came in. We did all our paperwork, did all our homework, gave him all the numbers, showed the cookbook, showed him all the stuff. Sat him down and showed him my playbook, basically, and he goes, dude, you actually have a sellable landscape company. I've never met someone that had a sellable landscaping company. I said, well, thank you. I've been thinking about it for 5 years.
Wow.
Like, I'm actually actively working on this, not knowing I needed to sell it, but I was prepared.
Wow.
And so
that's actually really cool.
We literally had this conversation at Macaroni Grill in Annapolis.
Okay.
And so he came over, we did the due diligence and went through the whole shebang, and he said, all right, I'm gonna get to work. And so April 17, he starts putting the thing on the market. I mean, the whole company is literally on the market. I'm going, holy crap, I hope I'm not making a mistake here, because at this point in time, I didn't have a working Mulchmate at all.
Okay.
And so I'm putting the business up for sale because I knew it's going to take a long time to sell it, or at least I figured. And I don't have a working machine that I could sell, and I'm basically creating a whole entire new category in the landscape industry that no one's even Googling.
Right.
So I'm either stupid, you know what I mean?
You're doing this trapezius thing, you're like letting go of one rope, and you're like, I hope that other rope is coming in, and
yeah, and I can't see it. It's not even there as far as I can see.
Sure.
And so as we're selling the company and we're getting people, looking at it and getting offers, most of them I had to turn down because they were just absolutely just idiotic, crazy.
Yeah.
And one big thing, this may not apply to the folks that are listening currently, but there is a bit of information here that if one day you find yourself in this situation, pay attention to this. Selling a business that's worth any more than $2.5 million a year is going to be tough unless you're over $10 million a year. Because at $2.5 million, you're too small for a big company to buy, and you're too big for a small company to buy.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I mean, dude, I haven't talked to a ton of people that have sold businesses, and especially at that level. We had Corey Ballard on a couple episodes before, and with Perfect Cut, and he shared a lot of great insights. Just has a way bigger business, like top 50 or something like that, and the North America, or at least in the Midwest. And he was just dropping nuggets. But yeah, no, take us through that process if you want to share what you want, share what you don't want, obviously. But
it's really simple. You've got to pay attention to the market in your area, and depends on how big and how national do you get, how many regions. Like, there's a local company here, well, it's not really local anymore, but Rupert, they're out of Maryland, but they have branches in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas. They're getting really, really big. After you get over a certain size, dude, you're limited on who's going to buy you.
Right.
Very limited. So keep that in mind. When you're growing your business, like I talk to my customers today, and they go, yeah, I'm too big, or, I'm too big to sell to a small guy, and I'm too small to sell to a big guy. And they kind of know it, and they're like, well, we're doubling down. We're buying Mulchmates because we want to grow our business without adding any extra employees. And so they're literally trying to grow their entire massive multi-million dollar business off the back of this little white box that I make.
Right. That's fascinating, dude. Well, and I'm sure that's probably frustrating too, though. Back then you're like getting these offers, and you're like, it's almost turnkey, and and you're just waiting for a good proposal, right? You're just waiting for a check at this point.
Yeah. At this point, and it was very frustrating some days. It wasn't easy. It was not like buying or selling a car. It was a ton of work to get it to go. But after it was all said and done, I'm very happy with my decision, not because I was running away from a company. I was more running toward the dream that I felt that landscaping I was good at, and I knew how to make money, but I didn't feel like my personal skill set was being used to its max.
Okay.
And I'm a max out kind of guy. I give everything I have in everywhere in my life that I have.
Yeah,
if I'm awake, I'm giving you everything.
Yeah, you're not a sit still kind of guy.
No, I'm a no coffee guy. Like I bounce around all over the place, and I don't think people are like, how many coffees do you have today? None. I've had coffee in years.
Sure.
Not because I don't like it. I just don't need it. It makes me feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack.
Right. Right.
I'm just bouncy as it is.
You're just high energy.
And the reason it's energy, but the reason is that, like I said, I wasn't running from something. I'm always running to something.
That's huge.
You see the difference?
Yeah. Well,
it's huge. So that's why I'm bouncy.
Well, I was talking to, it's just relatable because I was talking to Corey yesterday, and he's like, he stepped away from Perfect Cut, and he's, doing the Ballard Innovative Products and selling a lot of that stuff. And, we got a code for that. And a lot of folks are like, why are you leaving this? He's like, I don't know. I'm just really excited about something new. It's something I'm passionate about and I'm excited about. And it's like, I agree. Like, you've got to have a dream or a goal or be chasing something. If not, my opinion is that you're just going to rot. You're just going to get uninspired. Apathy typically sets in any capacity, and you got to be working towards something. And so. Maybe that's our transition then, because I want to go down the rabbit hole for 15, 20 minutes while I got you. I want to make sure I'm really respectful of your time and calendar. I don't want to, do a 2-hour podcast with you and just, hold you ransom here. So let's do this. If you still got about 15, 20 minutes, you want to kick it and talk a little bit about your new project, which is Mulch, mate?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, cool. Well, let's do this. Let's shake it up. Let's hear from the announcements. I'll get a sip of water here, and then we'll come right on back.
At Exmark, we've poured decades of leading-edge engineering and old-fashioned work ethic into our Laser Z, the pioneering commercial zero-turn rider more landscape pros trust. So now you can experience cut quality, performance, comfort, durability, and reliability beyond your wildest dreams. Stop by your local dealer or visit xmark.com to experience an Exmark Laser Z and the attractive financing offers available now.
All right, so let's talk about Mulchmate. This is, I mean, really, dude, I am so fascinated, and this isn't lip service, okay, folks? Like, you got to understand how much heritage and story and struggle victories going on behind the scenes with Nick. That's when I got to really know you and meet you, obviously, on the internet, which sounds strange in 2020, but that's normal. That's normal in 2020. 12 years ago, 10 years ago, you wouldn't say that, right? I just think it's fascinating. Like, people like calling Uber, right? 15 years ago, it was don't get in the car with a stranger. Now, you put your 15-year-old kid in, from soccer practice, and they go on an Uber, right, Nick? So just fascinating, crazy what the world's doing today, and I've seen all of it, man. As I've grown up without Mario, we've grown up with Mario, now we got high-speed internet, man. So I'm dating myself, but anyway. So Mulchmate here is one of those things where I truly. I get a lot of data. I get a lot of macro from the industry. I get a lot of info. I hear a lot of people talk. I get a lot of conversation. I'm really in a unique situation, and I'm really blessed. I just get caught up in it. I think it's so exciting. Like, selfishly, I'm like, this is so cool. Well, so I have all these conversations with all these different folks, and it's always about Mulchmate. I mean, Mulchmate was and you correct me if you can, but in 2000, I think it was 18 or something like that, and like Landscape Management Magazine, and like the GIE Expo, like you're plastered everywhere, dude. You're front page news. You're the cat's meow. You're the newest. What would you call it? The newest product that came to the scene that really I don't even want to say like disrupted, because you like created its own niche, its own industry. Like everybody does mulch. It's such an easy evolution for a lawn care guy or even a landscaper, right? And so where did this whole thing come into play? You know, like where was this just you said you got it's almost inspired. Just tell everybody like this whirlwind tour that's the last 36, maybe 48 months, because it is an incredible story.
Yeah, it is, and thank you for the compliments. It's been, blessed isn't the word. Throughout my life, there have been milestones that I just don't know how in the world I was in the right place at the right time. So when we, basically in June of 2018, had a meeting with my staff at the time and said, guys, I'm going on social media. Where it all started. And I said, it's free. We're going to go after this. And I had already had some branding put together in different sell sheets and different things. And we just started posting stuff and calling on different news outlets and putting out, what the heck do you call it?
Like feelers and
release
marketing?
Forms.
Okay.
Yeah, and we put over these releases to all these different magazines. We showed up at GIE. Well, let me back up a little bit. About 2 months pre-GIE 2018, my father, and you know Gator, for everyone that's not familiar with who Gator is one of my best friends. His name is JD. We live very close together. We don't work together, but anytime I need a hand, he's there. And anytime he needs a hand, I'm there. And so he's out playing golf with my father one evening, and I'm home with my kids. And apparently, JD is hounding my father about getting us to GIE. And we were being advised by someone else that was like, no, you can't go. You're not ready. And so that was Sunday. Monday comes, and I basically call an emergency meeting, sit everybody down, and said, listen, if we don't go to GIE, we aren't going to be taken serious, and we're going to look back on this one day, and we're going to regret it. We're going to regret not going. And I basically, I just kind of went nuts and said, guys, if we're not there, this is crazy. Why are we doing this? And so basically my father and I are partners in this, and I convinced him to, let's go do this. And so we make the call, and I don't know how, but we took the last 10 by 20 booth that was available at GIE and for 2018. And so I spent 2 months of just purely trying to figure out what the indoor booth is going to look like, what the outdoor booth is going to look like. And keep this in mind, I'm running out of money. Like I am running out of money at a very rapid rate. Just because, we're in a 10,000 square foot commercial facility. My overhead is like $30,000 a month. Whether we make money or not, like I am hemorrhaging dollars here. And I didn't get paid $10 million by my landscape company. It was only a couple million, and it's running out. And so we get all this stuff together for GIE. I put together the outdoor booth, the indoor booth, and I think I only spent like $3,000 on all of it. And everybody, if you've seen it, you'd think I spent $20,000.
Yeah, well, it's not cheap. It's not cheap to do trade shows. People have no idea. It's insane.
But I have figured out a way to get things a lot cheaper in higher quantities, and just was able to figure out and navigate my way through it. So we show up to GIE, and we're thinking to ourselves, like, I can't sleep at night at this point. We're in Louisville. I can't sleep. I have created this machine for the last basically 2 to 3 years of my life that I hid from everyone, and I'm betting big on my idea. I mean, I'm betting everything on my idea.
Yeah, you're all in.
And I'm all in. Like, if this doesn't work, I'm going to get a job. Like, this is going to be bad, which I would have lived. But regardless, we show up, and I'm thinking, I don't want to be laughed out of this building. Like, I really don't want to be laughed out of here.
Sure.
And the show opens, and people start coming. And I'm going, oh, God. And so they're like, how many have you sold? And I'm going, not that many. We're just unveiling it. And
that's always fun.
Like I'm always tiptoeing around these questions because we're brand new, and I don't want to scare anybody, but I got to sell something. I got to make some money here.
Right.
And so more people come, Brian, and more people come. And I'm going, what the heck is going on? And my dad looks at me and he goes, is this social media working? I don't know. I have no idea. Well, we're in this 10 by 20 booth, and we're blocking 2 aisles in every direction. And I'm going, what the heck is happening right now? Like, what is going on? I mean, I got people taking pictures with me. And with the machine, I'm scratching my head going, what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
What, I don't know what to think of any of this. And so that's Wednesday. Wednesday goes really well. I go home or go back to the hotel, and I'm going, what just happened? And so
trying to decompress.
Get up the next morning. I am. I'm trying to process what in the world just happened. There's a big white box, and it's like, pollen and bees and just right to it. I'm going, okay, that doesn't make sense to me because no one even knows what it is. They look at it and they're going, well, what is it? Well, why are you staring at it if you don't even know what it is? Why are you intrigued? I'm just asking a million questions to myself, and there's nobody for me to go to and say, hey, man, like if I was making a mower, I could go to Ed Wright and go, Ed, what does this mean? Well, he doesn't know.
Right.
What no one knows. It's a whole new category.
A lot of buzz.
So Thursday comes, a lot of buzz. So Thursday comes, and the booth opens outside, and now I can show everybody what the machine's capable of. And so we run 10 loads through that truck on Thursday. I was flat, wore straight out.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean,
you were like
so tired.
You were like the ShamWow guy, dude. Like, who's the all those guys like on the late night commercials, like trying to sell, man. And dude, GIE, like it's a time to. If you're an exhibitor, you're trying to sell, dude. That's your job, and and you're trying to network, And I remember you hustling, bro. Just. Wait 1 second. Let me, your camera ready? Let's get the wheelbarrow out, right? So you're doing your thing,
I'm screaming to people because there's like 80 to 100 people around the booth at all times. I'm screaming, going, everybody pile in. Come check this out. Like, look. And they're like scared to come closer. And I'm like, come on. We won't bite. Come on. And I'm being very funny and outgoing with them. And so I'm like, I'm trying to drop people's guard while trying to sell them, while trying not to lose my voice. And trying to get all these people through this booth. I mean, it was just the craziest thing to manage. Mm-hmm. So Thursday comes and goes, and I'm looking at Gator and Sam and my dad and going, what the heck just happened? Everybody's loving this thing, and people are giving us deposits, and they're moving on this thing. I'm going, oh my gosh, I think it might be working. Friday comes, all the same stuff. And so I'm literally driving home Saturday. So Friday we clean up, we drive home Saturday. Mm-hmm. I am driving through nowhere, West Virginia, in an unmarked truck in an unmarked trailer. Can't see Mulch Man anywhere in sight around me. I'm in a Chick-fil-A. I'm starving, dude. Like, it's 6:30 or whatever. The Chick-fil-A is just opening up in the mountains of West Virginia. And this dude pulls up next to me in my truck, and he's rolling the window down, looking at me going like, put the window down. I'm going, can I help you? I'm thinking he's like a blown tire on my trailer or something.
Right.
He's like, you're that guy. And I'm like, what's he talking about? And he says, you're that guy on the phone. And he's pointing at his phone, and there's a video of Mulchmate doing what it's doing that somebody else took at the GIE, and he's like, you're the Mulchmate guy. And I'm going, oh my God.
Wow.
Like, are you kidding me? And so the word spread so fast and so strong. And honestly, dude, you were the very first person with any kind of clout to pick up on it all on your own. I didn't know you from Adam when you reposted the first post and said, hey, dude, check this out. This thing is pretty cool. And I'm going, oh, my God, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing this. Like, I think I said, like, thank you, like, 50 times to you.
Well, it's such a weird, funny story, too, though, because at the time, I trust me, I'm not anything special, dude. We have a decent sized Instagram. We do not have a big Instagram like anybody thinks. But it was funny because I just remember it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and I don't know, like if it was just like a photo or a video that you guys were doing before you went to GIE. I think it was a month or two before, and you had all this momentum going into the show, and people were like, "What is this thing? Like, I can't wait to find." Like, you were the breakout product, in my opinion, that year, right? And it was just one of those things where I was like watching it on Instagram, and I'm like, what is this thing? I've never seen something that like tarp rolls mulch through a dispersing, shredding machine that like kicks it out into a wheelbarrow with no shoveling, right? No shoveling. And and then, you had guys that, took it from there and they would just go dump in the beds. And it sounds really rudimentary, but like if you look at mulch, like it is a labor intensive job. If you got some huge shopping center or like a Home Depot or a Kroger up here or a hospital system, these guys move hundreds and hundreds of yards of mulch, and usually you get like you said some big company with an F-750 big dump truck, right, or big extended cab vehicle, and they got 6 guys in there packed in like sardines, and they drop them off at 8 a.m. and here's 5 shovels, and they say we need this all moved by the end of the week, and it's like, what? And I do about 150 yards of mulch per season in the spring, nothing crazy, just to manage my commercial accounts. And I just remember seeing this thing and I was like, oh my God, it's not for my business because I'm, an owner operator, really small. Like I don't even move 100 yards, but it just made so much sense, Nick, when I saw it. I'm like, if that's how people can now deliver and install mulch, I'm like, that is a game changer. Like hashtag game changer. Every time you hear the word game changer, by the way, Nick, you got to take a shot, just so you know. That's right. If you hear the word,
I'm drunk then 24/7.
Dude, if you hear the word game changer or disruptive innovation or next level, that's the green industry for you. That's all those marketing and buzzwords. So anyway, that's so funny. Inside joke with OPEI reviews. So. But which is now an open joke, I guess. So anyway, so everybody's receiving the product really, really well. As we go through the timeline, and then it's you're on a high, right? This is an amazing show. Things are going great, and just like a lot of business success stories, there's highs and there's lows, right? And you don't have to get into every detail. It's not like anything nasty, but like you guys were challenged, man, with your sourcing, your production times, your build out, the price. There's a lot of well-received things, a little pushback sometimes with pricing, but then nowadays you're just selling machines like hotcakes, but it wasn't always that way. So can you give us maybe where you guys were after the show and how things went the next 12, 18 months? Because it got really interesting still. It wasn't a shoe-in by then,
Yeah, so it got dicey. Even after GIE last in 2018, we weren't out of the woods yet. I had still spent every dollar I had. I literally was down to $2,000 in my own name. Like I had spent everything trying to get this thing to go. And one day, guy buys a machine, another guy buys another machine, and it slowly starts to go. And so, you're saying, we were the bee's knees, if you will, of the 2018 GIE.
Mm-hmm.
Well, from my point of view, the glasses I was wearing, I was so freaked out and so unsure. I had no way of enjoying it until the issue of LM Magazine in 2019, just before GIE 2019,
mm-hmm.
where their main article was about, what's going to be hot at GIE this year, like Mulch Mate was in 2018. And I'm going, what? Like, it's in print now in the biggest magazine publication in our industry that was true.
Yeah.
Like somebody actually published that in the main article.
Yeah.
That was when I was like, oh,
it was
God, that actually.
It was like a whole half page, I think like a whole page, but like, it might have been a 2-page spread, but it was a 1-page spread. Like now you're authority. Now I remember it. Boom, right there. I'm like, you're on like the first, like 3rd page or something like that.
I know. And I couldn't believe that, but everyone sees, they're like, oh, they were doing so good. They're doing so good. And in my way, I was going, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do. Do I start building machines faster than the trouble is you have all this buzz, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's buzz and then there's check. And there's a huge, gray area between. And so I have to decipher, like Nick has to decipher from buzz to actual sales. And then I have to compare these machines before they're ever sold. So how many dollars can I allot to building machines, have them ready?
Mm-hmm.
And so when people buy them, they just go. Like, we're not a job shop. We're a manufacturer, no different than any other manufacturer. We build machines before they're ever sold.
Sure.
And so I have to decipher through, do I build 2 machines or do I build 2,000 machines?
Mm-hmm.
And there is so much risk involved in that, especially when you're talking about a machine that costs $30,000.
Right. 100%.
That's not something that, like, even a lawnmower is what, $8,500 ish, 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Like, guys don't just go buy them. There's some planning involved.
Right.
And so I had to decipher through all of 2018 into 2019 of what that was going to look like. And thank God I was pretty close on my guesstimate, and we sold a ton of units through the spring of 2019, which literally we sold all the way up until I think May, and then sales just stopped. Boom. Like never did nothing from May until I want to say August. And then all of a sudden it fired back off again. And I sold more machines between August and December than I did from January to April in 2019.
Wow.
How crazy is that?
For sure. That's like backwards.
It's completely backwards. And I think what it was just digestion is digestion, and it takes the time that it takes.
Right. Well,
and so we just stayed consistent with the program and the plan. We had a specific plan laid out. It's still on a whiteboard in my office today.
Wow.
We stick with that plan.
Well, and I a lot of folks that listen to this now, context is everything. I would say, like, I live in Metro Detroit, Michigan. Everybody in Michigan's like kind of worked in a factory, whether it's automotive or something similar, right? Auto suppliers. I love manufacturing. I would honestly, like, I would probably one day own a manufacturing company. Like, I love manufacturing. It's something that, this country got wealthy doing is manufacturing. Now it's typically distribution, right? Like the Amazons, the Walmarts, and affiliates, and that kind of thing. And so now a lot of money is to be made in distribution. And so to make a lot of money in manufacturing, or to even start a company, in manufacturing in 2020 in the United States, right? I mean, there's this huge buzz about, made in America and things coming back, but without getting overly political, I just tell people, like, you don't have any idea what you're talking about. Like, if you want to talk about manufacturing, whether it's clothing, I have a friend right now, he's trying to make an organic, recycled golf polos, right? With like recycled materials, right? Well, he's like, our cost is like, $40. He's like, that's before we even sell it. He goes, if I get the same thing outsourced in like Malaysia, China, whatever, right? Somewhere overseas in probably Europe or Asia Pacific, it's like, $4 or $10, right, per unit. And so you can't really compete with like manufacturing in America. It's just one of those things. Things change, right? America's changing. Now, we've had a lot of resurgence and growth in that industry, but I just don't know if people really understand the capital investment, right? It's a miracle. That's why I say you're not only a success story in landscaping, but a success story in manufacturing, and like you said, you're always faced with these perilous situations, right? Do we build 10 units or do we make payroll and rent? Because there's only so much money to go around in the beginning for a new company, a startup company. And and there's only so much lines of credit, right? And we were just we were joking before we hit record. You're like, yeah, dude, if it's a purchase order, for parts or something like that comes in, it's not even $100,000. Like, I don't even sweat it. It's that's not even one for me to start, losing my breath about. But because the numbers you're throwing around are it's crazy. But for everybody who has been buying machines and starting to get the delivered units, like, everybody that you have shared stories with me, it's changing their business, and Mulchmate's not for everybody. I get that. We all get that. But why don't you give some stories about folks that are adopting it? Because, we have such a wide audience, and, not everybody is owner-operator. I know there's people that probably have 7+ figure incomes, businesses, I should say. And Mulchmate might be a great, option for them. So give the pitch, man. You got open mic, let some people know where you guys are at and what you're noticing out there with the product. And after that, we'll probably wrap it up, man. So.
All right, cool. So really simply, I did this. This actually came to me at GIE 2019. So we have a customer in Kentucky, and him and I were just chit-chatting, and he starts rambling off how much material he's run with his Mulchmate just in the spring. So he used it for like 4 months in the spring, and this data is just from those 4 months. He left the machine on, still uses it, but this is the critical time of year. And what he had told me was, I don't remember the exact breakdown of the numbers, but I remember the total, and it was like 3,000 yards of mulch and a bunch of aggregate, meaning dirt, sand, rock, clay, whatever. What I had done was I actually put pounds to those yards or those tons and figured out the numbers. This little company, like one Mulchmate, one truck, moved 4.1 million pounds of material through their Mulchmate that his men did not have to lift.
Wow.
4.1 million. And he isn't the biggest guy, and he's pressing the machine. Like, I'd say at least half my customers are doing way more than he's doing.
Wow.
Now, get this. Same guy. I'm not going to mention who he is, but he is a spectacular human being if he ever listens to this. Thank you, dude. You're the man.
Well, you're talking about me, obviously, right? So I'm just,
Of course.
If people are like, you have an ego, everybody's got an ego. Shut up.
Yeah. Right. Well, hey, you kind of have to in order to be crazy enough to do what we do.
Oh my God, so true. Anyway, I'm a nerd. Sorry, dude.
No, you're good, dude. So this is something that I would never post about on my social media. I would never put it in advertising. This is a story because this is it's an unfiltered story session with Nick and Brian right now, right?
Yeah.
This guy comes to me, and my dad and I are sitting there talking to him, and he goes, my dad goes, man, I really, really, really appreciate your support, your kindness, buying our machines, blah, 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 because we're just very thankful people for, these people joining Team Mulchmate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this guy, his name's Jason, he turns around and grabs my father by the shirt collar with both hands,
mm-hmm.
and he yanks him closer to his face, and he goes, do you understand what you have done for me?
Mm.
And my dad's like, you can calm down a little bit first off. Jason goes, literally, Brian, I'm not making this up. He goes, you have made me over $1 million with your little machine.
Really?
And my father and I stare at him, and we're like, how is that even possible? He goes, the amount of material that I didn't have to buy because the augers fluffed the material, the amount of time saved, the amount of jobs I was able to do with the time saved, and the amount of people that I didn't have to either employ or was able to transfer to a different, higher, more profitable job.
Yeah. Overall
total, you've made me almost $1 million.
Wow.
Then he proceeds to reach in his pocket and pull out $12,000 in greenbacks and looks at us and goes, we are going to go out and we are going to have an awesome dinner tonight because you guys made an amazing machine.
Wow.
That doesn't happen, dude.
Wow.
I've never heard that, ever.
That's so cool, dude. That is so cool. I mean, that's the difference it's making for folks that are using a machine like yours. It's it's a little bit more big boy club. It's not for the guy doing $50,000 a year cutting 25 lawns, right? It's a little bit for a little bit bigger, medium sized company. And above, and now you guys are selling units like hotcakes because the word's getting out about that exact kind of a story, right? And
yeah,
you don't have to name names and other accounts, but you were telling me off the record, like, yeah, we got this company's looking at 10 units because we told them that story and many other stories like it, and now they're like, well, we're buying 8 units and just like this tremendous success story, and
yeah.
I'm so excited for you. Tell the other story really quick while I got you, because you were doing a demo, and I think you drove to some HOA or some hospital. Do you remember this story? And somebody had a demo out there with like their whole crew, and one was your Mulchmate setup truck that you were delivering 20 or 30 yards for, and then they had the current setup, and it was like 5 guys with 5 shovels, right, and 4 wheelbarrows or whatever, right? And just tell you don't have to give the company name, but just tell the funny observation, because you went there to demo, and by the end of the day, those guys had told the regional manager that was like doing this experiment, who didn't even stick around. They're like, we like the Mulchmate. We like the Mulchmate.
Yeah. So there's been like 2 big stories, and the one company, this is probably the most impressive story. They had contacted us. They wanted to do a demo, and this is a huge company, like top 150 list. These guys are massive.
Yeah.
They come to us. They say, we want to do this demo. I said, okay, sure, no problem. They're gonna use their trucks. They're gonna do it their way, the way they've always done it. We're gonna come in and we're gonna do it our way. So it was 4 of their trucks to my one Mulchmate truck. We pull up. They have all the mulch delivered, 450 yards. I told them, I said, don't deliver 450 yards.
Yeah.
You deliver maybe
half that,
380, 350,
or whatever
somewhere in the neighborhood.
Okay.
They didn't listen.
Yeah.
They didn't listen. They're bigger than me. They think they know more. Okay, whatever, dude. That's on you. It's not my problem. So we get there, and the deal was they were going to run one of their trucks when it was empty. They would run the Mulch Mate truck, and then those trucks would leave, go get filled up, and while we're gone, they're going to take the other two trucks and unload them by hand the old-fashioned way, the way everybody's been doing it for the last, forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get one of their trucks unloaded, then we move to the Mulch Mate truck, and we take off. When we come back, nobody's moved trucks. Nobody is shoveled out of the other trucks. I'm going, well, guys, what are we doing here? And they're like, no more, no more the old way. We want to do it with this machine.
Right.
And I'm like, really? Because previous to this, they told me, no, the machine's no good. The machine's no good. And I'm going,
right.
Really? You never used it. Like, how do you have that opinion?
And I think you were saying like they was almost out of necessity or something like that, or like the other truck, like it didn't break down, but like they had to like track it around back or something like that, and like
it was a 1 mile loop back to where you get mulch.
Yeah.
So that 1 mile loop takes some time to get back there. It's an old folks home. I mean, this old folks home had its own grocery store, had its own cathedral, church, like the whole 9 yards.
Right.
And so we get back there, and I'm telling you, we back down this like half-mile pathway into a courtyard, right? This courtyard has a restaurant, like a little Panera Bread, if you will.
Wow.
And then apartments for all these old folks around this courtyard, and we're putting out 30, 40 yards, and these guys start running mulch. And the old people are walking by in their little, the little four-wheeled walker thingamajig, and they're like, hey, "That's cheating."
Right.
So we all understand that certain people, when they age, they get a little grumpy, and they're in this old folks' home. They're not with their family, and they're a little frustrated because they're not with their family. I get it, and they just kind of bark at people, and that's just the way it goes. They never barked at us with the mulch mate because it's so quiet. Doesn't make a bunch of noise.
Sure.
And so the guys from this massive company said, that's it. We're not using the old truck anymore. We're only using this machine.
Wow.
So to kind of fast forward, we finished this property a week earlier than expected, and we used 100 yards less mulch than they had done, the last 15 years they've done this job.
Wow.
And so I look at the execs, and I sent them an email, I sent them videos, I sent them pictures, and said, guys, the mulch mate just grenaded your matrix, guys. Like it's not even close. It's completely out of sight, not even close.
Dude, and that's so cool, man.
There it goes.
Well, I mean, you're saving them $10,000 in material costs. You know what I mean? At retail, and but whatever, 20. You're saving them $5,000, $10,000. It's just, and then you scale that, times, probably 100 properties that have like that, and I just think it's so cool, man. Like I just see like the lines connect. I get excited for other people. I'm a big cheerleader, right? And I just see like, my wife and I, we were at Universal about 2 weeks ago, and we're running around, the whole theme park, right? And Islands of Adventure, I think it is the other one. And while we're there, we're taking the little water taxi, and I'm just a nerd like you. I'm looking at I'm having fun. I'm being present. I'm hanging out with the wife. We're having a good time, right? A little R&R. But I'm looking at all the landscaping and the retaining walls, and dude, just endless mulch and pine straw and the beds, or whatever. And I'm like, who mulches this? Who does all this? And then I'm thinking like, imagine a Disney, imagine the bigger companies and the bigger hospital systems that like get all these properties turned over and have to do the lawn care and the landscaping, right? And I'm just thinking, dude, the world is your oyster right now. I think you have one of the best kept secrets, and now that these stories are starting to permeate, you're getting the traction that you guys deserve, and you're changing, like you said, you made an industry, and you're changing the industry, of mulch installation. You know what I mean? Yeah, for sure. And one of the things that when we started this whole project, like you said it, and I said it 100 times, the last 2 days of this trade show, is that mulch mate's not for everybody. So that's why we went to work to develop the truck mate and the cart mate. The truck mate was always on the drawing board since day one, which is just a scaled down, third size, scaled model of mulch mate that fits a pickup truck. Right. And when we unveiled it at CIE, people just were nuts. Yeah. Like, just flat out crazy. And I'm going,
Are you kidding me?
Dude, for sure.
Like twice.
Well, before we hit record, I'm like, Nick, I need to get a cart mate. Like I was pressing you for questions. I'm like, look, no discounts. Like I want to buy one, and that's something I might evaluate. Like I said, I'm in this awkward spot where I only do like 100 yards of mulch, but I'm like, well, I'm at this point too where I'm starting to reinvest in the business just to slush money. And everything makes sense, when you don't want to give it to Uncle Sam. Just being real there. So I was like, well, I can reinvest in a hurricane blower. I can reinvest in a cart mate, and just even if it makes my life 10% easier, or just me and my guys, even for the 100 yards we do move, Well, let's do this. Let's probably wrap it up there, man. Like I said, we're way over time for what I wanted to ask you from your calendar, and I just really want to be respectful of people's time, especially guys that have a lot going on like yourself. Why don't we do this? Just like open mic, last minute or so. Any parting thoughts, whether it's from your lawn and landscape business that you have like a best tip, or maybe something that you want to tell the 10-year younger you, or maybe somebody who's just getting in business, and then maybe also plug your socials so people know where to find you guys.
All right, well, the social media is the easiest thing. So Instagram is kind of our main hub. So it's Mulchmate, at Mulchmate USA. We also have at Truckmate and at Cartmate USA, and we have Dawson MFG. Okay, is our main one. We are a little bit on YouTube. Of course, we got our website www.mulchmateusa.com.
Cool.
You'll find all the information on there. As far as parting thoughts, the number one thing that has carried me the furthest, simply, is kindness and respect for one another. I mean, I know that sounds so stupid and simple, but it's one of those things that a lot of times you get so wrapped up in what you're doing that you forget to shake someone's hand and look them dead in the eyes and truly mean, how are you doing today? Or I hope you have a great day.
Amen.
Finish those thoughts with people, because, listen, at the end of the day, business is business. Business is going to come and it's going to go. But the relationships that you cultivate are going to far, far, far push you in your wildest dreams. I can't explain how big it is to treat people right. And that goes for the relationships you build, the employees that you take on and hire, because keep in mind, at one point, I had 80 employees and I was feeding, I can't remember the number, but it was almost like 200 people between the men I hired, the wives, the children. There's this huge ripple effect, and it's a big responsibility. And so lead by example beyond anything else, because when you do, people will go out of their way to help you achieve the goals and dreams that you have.
Wow.
Period.
That's good, man. That's I amen to that. I'm not going to add anything to that, because I just always, like you said, man, just be the same person in public as you are in private, and vice versa, and just treat people right, man. Amen. Well, dude, I maybe that's probably one of the reasons why you and I get along so well. Like anytime you call, I feel like I'm catching up with an old best friend, and yeah, man. Dude, I appreciate the time. Maybe there's so many good things that you just said, and I know we can go down the rabbit hole again. You're blank check, open invite. If you ever want to be another guest on the show, maybe we can do a mid-season or later fall, Nick Carlson update. See where you're at, see what's going on. Maybe do something before GIE, and everybody can catch up with you and see what you're probably doing behind the scenes. Because I know you never let on, man. You always got secrets, and like good stuff going on. And so I'm like, what's new, what's exciting, So maybe we'll get a mid-season update out of you and see where you're at, and. But all right, guys. Well, hey, if you enjoyed listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast, do me a big favor, shoot a big 5-star review. Maybe leave a comment down below. You got to switch over to the next track anyway. It literally takes 2 seconds. We appreciate you guys that have been leaving reviews and supporting the podcast. Guys, that's it from Fullerton Unfiltered. We look forward to catching up with you guys on the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, No one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.